modelling supplies. There's so many different tools, brands that you can get. But what ones do I use? Hey guys, it's model making time, and we're back, and this time we're looking at the modelling supplies that I use. Oh, and Archie's joining in today. For those of you who don't know me, hey, my name's Miss Modeller, and I make model kits on the internet, and quite often they can be lesser known subjects because, well, I just build whatever I feel like. If you haven't subscribed yet, make sure to do so. It's free and really helps support the channel. And drop me a like and leave a comment down below. What modelling supplies do you use? What's your staples? What we're going to do today is just have a look at the different things that I use and what brands I've come to know and trust. I try to be quite agnostic with my approach to sort of what brands I will go to and just use whatever I find works for me rather than being whatever brand is on trend and Vogue or whatever. I've started using a lot more different brands over the last few years, particularly since doing this online, whereas before I tended to be, well, I used Revell Aquacolor and I used sort of Humbrol supplies, and that was pretty much it. And if you look at my older videos, you'll see that all I used was Revell Aquacolors for the longest time. In fact, on my website, which has stuff predating my YouTube career, I actually used Revell Aquacolors through an airbrush too. So, you know, I was someone who used those supplies for a very long time. But over the years, I've learned that just because something is more accessible, like it's sold in big stores, or because something's more expensive, doesn't mean it's better. So firstly, I guess we should have a look at where most modelling starts, and that's with glue. Glue. It's one of the things I get left comments about all the time is, why don't you use Tamiya Extra Thin? Or, well, I guess Tamiya glue in general. And the thing is, I have this Tamiya Extra Thin cement and I do use it. Not very frequently. I mean, this bottle's about half empty and I've had it for over a year. In fact, probably closer to 2 years at this point. It's actually brought to me by a viewer, so thank you very much. But before that, I used to use pretty much exclusively this. This is Revell's Contactor Professional with the little spout, and I still prefer this to a brush. In fact, I just find this a really easy to use glue, and Mr. Modeller started using this as well. It does block quite frequently, so you have to use like flame over the needle to sort of unblock it, and obviously the best thing to do is remove the metal from that to prevent anything happening, because giant flame on here for a reason. But I saw this the other day when I was at a model show. This is from Brooks Models, and this is just Deluxe Materials Precision Plastic Glue. It's quite cool. The nib comes off like really nicely. It's like it doesn't come with it on. You don't get a cover on it, but it doesn't block super loads. But as you can see by the blackened tip, I've had to do the same thing on this once or twice, but nowhere near as much as I do with the Revell one. And actually, I find this works really nicely. I don't really know a lot about glue. I'm not someone who works in that field to understand why certain glues work the certain ways, but I will say this has probably become my go-to. It just seems to work every time. It doesn't have the same issues that I had with Revell, where sometimes it seems to over soften or over melt things, but the Tamiya stuff is still going to remain as a staple, particularly for clearing up lines, for when you've done sanding and you want to smoothen something out, and also just for the bits that you want to be a bit more delicate with. It's really fast acting and it's really good for that. But I would say like these two have become my staples, and I probably won't be buying Revell anymore unless it's in a pinch, because this is so easy to get in the UK because it's at every hobby store. Next up, let's have a talk about airbrushes. Airbrushes. I have become a convert to airbrushes. I was a brush painter for the longest time. Most of my videos on my channel are probably still brush painting because I only started using an airbrush really once Gallery, who this is a Gallery airbrush as well, reached out to me and went, hey, would you like an airbrush? I have also got one from Fender as well. That's from Airgoo, and I really enjoy that one too. I don't use it as much, but that compressor on the other hand, I use every day and I absolutely love it. But airbrushing's a really odd thing. People seem to think that you have to use it to get the best results, and yet I think one of my best models ever was my Fiat G50, which I did entirely with brush paints, and I also did it entirely with Italary paints too, which are not the best paints. If you want to see a video about the best paints using a brush, go and check out my video where I tested so many different brands, including Zvezda, which obviously you're not really going to get anymore. But with airbrushes, I have pretty much just gone to gallery. I do have an old Harder and Steenbeck Infinity, I think it's the Infinity CR Plus. I got that years and years and years ago, but unfortunately it's missing quite a lot of parts from when I've moved twice, both cases in quite a speedy manner. So that one is on the back burner to eventually fix at some point and get like a new needle and the other parts that it needs, and maybe I'll go back to using that. But honestly, I know most people prefer the top mounted button, but I've really fallen in love with the trigger. I find that I can control it really nicely, really easily. I have much better control. My dexterity probably isn't the best, and before anyone says it, it's not the nails, because I can use these perfectly fine like this. It's just, I find this much easier to control, much more comfortable, get less cramp. So this has become my all-time favorite airbrush. I never thought that it would be. This is the Gallery Advance GAD 68. Archie has come to expect as well. And I just absolutely love it. I think trigger airbrushes are going to be my go-to for quite some time. I've actually just finished quite a few models when I've taken my break, and I use this on every single one. I don't think I've used any other airbrush since I started using this one, and I regret not opening this when I got it quite a few months before I started using it. Like, absolutely love this. If you want to buy like any gallery stuff as well, I do have an affiliate code in the description down below. Obviously your purchase there helps support the channel too, but you know, I try and be unbiased. Like, I'm a novice modeler, I'm not a professional. For me as a novice, I find this great. You know, your experiences are all going to vary, and I would suggest going and checking a lot of other people's opinions and views just to make sure you're getting the airbrush that's right for you. But yeah, I really love this one. And whilst we're on the subject of that, I guess we need to talk paint. And for me, it's Life Color. No one uses this brand. Like, I don't know why, but just no one uses it. But I've used Life Color for quite some time now. The reason I first used these was many years ago, way before I had a YouTube channel. Or I think there was a time where I started doing YouTube that then never did it. And I bought a set of the Regia Aeronautica set, the Italian World War II set, and I really loved them. And that was it to build an MC202 or something? Or maybe it was my SM79. I can't really remember, but I loved it. I loved that the sets came with all the main colours you needed, 6 paints, but it came with everything you needed. And then when I went back to airbrushing, I was looking at what paints to use. Hot take, never really got on with Tamiya too well, and it's not that I think they're bad, that I just don't like them as much. And I wanted something that was water-based because I was in a fairly confined space at the time with not the best ventilation. I wanted something that was cheap as well, because being able to dilute something with water is better than having a dedicated thinner, although I do use that now anyway. And I wanted something that's easy to clean as well. These kind of fit the bill. I was using Revell originally, and this seemed to be like Revell but better. And I will say that that's kind of been my experience. Revell has a very different consistency. I guess I should say it has a lack of consistency, because between the different colours, you're going to get very different like viscosity, very different pigment density. I don't really find that with Life Color as much. I do really like Life Color. Like, there's a reason why, as you can see, my whole wall is just covered with Life Color paints, to the point where I was emailing the person who makes the wall-mounted paint racks, and he was just like, oh, you have quite a lot of these. And I was like, yeah, and I'm gonna get more. And I have got at least one more on the way, because there was a discounted German tank set, so I was like, well, why not? But these little pots of paint do tend to last really well. I use black obviously all the time, I think most modelers do, and white and a couple of other colours, and I don't really get through them that quickly, and I use them for every single build. Obviously I've done French February a few times now, and I've spilt the paint, and that has made me replace them. But to be honest, for the ones I've not thrown on the floor in accident, I haven't really had to replace any of them. They're also quite easy to get, not from like big stores, but from places like Airbrush.com, and I buy from them all the time. They also have their own thinner and cleaner, but make sure you put some retarder in as well. Retarder is like an acrylic medium that helps slow the drying process. It really helps when you're airbrushing because airbrushing dries up paint really quickly, so having a little bit of retarder in does tend to help. Now I will say the primer that you can get for Life Colour has been hit or miss for me. I think it's been better since I've started using that airbrush. Don't really know why, but I have just found it to be a bit hit and miss in general. But yeah, I've really taken to this. I probably will still look for a new primer. I'm not convinced that Life Colour's primers are the best. I'm going to test out more, just see if I can get it to a point where I get really regular consistent results, because right now I don't, but I have used it on almost everything I've got, and I've actually got through one of the primer pots at this point. Also, Mr. Model has been using it and did a giant boat with it, so we went through it quite quickly. But yeah, Life Colour paints, not something most people use, not something I think is ever going to be super popular because they're seemingly quite niche. I absolutely love them. I think they're great for beginners because they come in sets, and they work really well for either brush painting or for airbrushing. So they're all around just pretty great. But before you paint your model, you might need to use some filler. And again, this is another product that for the longest time I used Revell filler, but I've changed over to this AK putty. And I have to say, I really like this stuff. The texture of it is just perfect. It's really easy to mold into seam lines. I find it wipes up really well without actually taking away the plastic with it too. I've used this non-stop since I got it. I mean, you can tell like this was a really thick tube and now like there's that much of it gone. I absolutely love this. I've been using this with silicone brushes. I've not noticed any sort of reaction, and the fact it's white as well I think is really good, because actually on most model kits you can see really clearly where you put it in, and you'll be able to see gaps really clearly as well. I'm still not the greatest with putty. I still quite regularly don't get a smooth finish, but I'm getting there. And once you've finished putting your putty on, you want to file, and I had some SMS files that I used for the longest time, and they came in 3 levels. It was sort of coarse, medium, and fine. I recently bought these. I think this again was Brooks Models. I think this is Bolton Model Show. These were flexi files, flexi pads, and they come in. I've only got a couple of them here. In fact, these aren't even in the right order, but I've got medium, fine, extra fine. There's also a polishing one on top of that. There's also a coarse one. I think there's another one as well. There's quite a lot of them. These, game changer. I have never used like the scale in this way, because normally you go coarse, medium, fine, and then you might need sandpaper on top. Having all of them just on my desk means I use them all the time, and although it didn't end up working out, I actually managed to sand down and clear a cockpit glazing or a cockpit canopy using these. I did use some help. I had I think it looks like glass from Deluxe Materials as well, but I have never ever got as close to having another transparent canopy after messing it up than I have by using these. Honestly, these are fantastic files. I guess some honorable mentions will go to glue and glaze and to Tamiya tape. These are 2 things I think most people know about this point, although this glue and glaze has seen better days. I actually originally bought this by a viewer, and I have loved it ever since. So thank you, Jackson, for that. The Tamiya tape obviously comes in lots of thicknesses. This is a much thicker version, which I tend to use for holding things together, but obviously you may want to use it for sort of outlines as well, or for separating parts. But I think these are really 2 great materials. The tape is obviously just fantastic. Tamiya tape is still one of the best out there. I do have some other brands as well, including some that are for like low adhesion to try and help stop ripping paint off, but generally I think Tamiya is great, and they also do sort of a curving tape as well. And Glue and Glaze is just fantastic for sticking your canopies on, and also if you're doing like a larger aircraft like a bomber or an airliner like I did with Concorde, filling in the windows that you don't get the transparencies for, this works perfectly. In fact, on my Lancaster video, I lost one of the transparencies, filled it in with Glue and Glaze, and the same on my block MB210. You cannot tell. They look amazing. And in fact, on the MB210, I also used masking fluid on top of it, and it still came out perfectly. So honestly, 10 out of 10. And I guess finally, once you've finished making, sanding, painting a model, you want to varnish it. And I have moved over to this varnish, which is from Ammo. I had never really used this stuff too much before, and I love this. In fact, I don't know if you can really see, but this one is down to about here. This is the glossy ones. First one I bought, absolutely fallen in love with this. In fact, again, this one is from Brooks. Not all of them are. Some of them have been from Amazon if it's been a bit of a hurry, or from other model supplies. But yeah, I love this stuff. Their range goes from glossy to ultra matte. I will say I don't quite get the matte. The matte one feels not matte enough to me. I've just done a PC9 where I wanted to do the black as matte, and I put the matte on and it still felt very shiny, and I've gone over it with the ultra matte and I was like, whoa, that is properly matte. So in my view, you probably only need 3 of them. You don't really need the matte, but you know, it is what it is. I think having all of them is nice, so you have the full ranges of effects. These literally just go in your airbrush as is. You don't need to do anything with them, which I think is great. They do have a ball bearing in, as you can hear, and that just means you can shake them up and make sure they're mixed really nicely before they go in. I genuinely love these. I used to use the rattle cans from Revell and from Humbrol as my varnishing, because I just always thought I can't be bothered to do the spraying with an airbrush. This converted me, because it is so easy and it cleans so nicely. Literally, I just run hot water through afterwards. I mean, hot water doesn't really stay hot with an airbrush, but I was always taught to do that, so I do. And then a little bit of cleaner or thinner afterwards, and I've never had any issues. I just really enjoy this. I think it's fantastic. Well guys, there were some hints, I guess, about what modelling supplies I use. Obviously there's some other things in here that were just honourable mention, so like fishing weights for the front of your model, that's always a good thing. And there's other things like using it looks like glass if you want to sort of reinforce your canopy or try and get rid of some scratches, and things like super glue, which, you know, you can always use. I haven't covered everything here because I just wanted to share some of the things that I've discovered more recently. But if you want to see more of my modelling supplies, I'll be happy to show you. In terms of what you use, the most important thing is that you are comfortable with whatever you are using. My word is just my experience. The same with any other content creator or modeler that you meet. You might actually find that you enjoy something that no one else uses, like me with life colour paint. And if it works for you, that's all that really matters, is that you're having fun and you're enjoying it. Leave a comment down below if there's any of the supplies that you've seen in this video that you might now go and try. And also, whilst you're there, make sure to subscribe to the channel and leave a like on the video as well. If you want to support the channel further, you can do so by becoming a channel member. You can either be a starter kit or advanced kit level member. The main difference is advanced kits get shouted out at the end of each video. And if you want to join a lovely, friendly community of modelers, make sure to join the Discord. The link is in the description down below. It's a really friendly environment where you can share your latest builds or finished projects in a forum style. So go and join it, everyone will welcome you. And with that, I hope you've enjoyed what you've seen today. Hope to see you in the next video and in the live stream after this. See you later. Bye! Love having a cat that responds to whistles. Thank you so much to all of my channel members. Your support means the world to me. A big shout out goes to my advanced kit level members, including Philip Jones, Charles Parker, Dafty Duck, Bob and Genevieve Albridge, David Barber, Taggers365, Jeff's Diorama, and my longest supporting channel member, Explosive Water. If you've enjoyed your video today, make sure to subscribe to the channel to be kept up to date with the latest videos, and Well, here's a recommended video here, just for you.